It's amazing how sometimes just one single number can change absolutely everything. It can unlock a market that's been frozen solid for years, it can shift the entire balance of power between buyers and sellers, and it can signal the start of a whole new chapter. Well, today we're talking about one of those numbers and how it's kicking off a major real estate reset in the South Bay for 2026. Let's break down exactly what this all means.
And here it is, 5.95%. For the first time since 2022, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate has officially dipped below that huge psychological barrier of 6%. Now, this isn't just some minor blip on the radar. This is the milestone the entire market has been holding its breath for. So, why is dropping below 6% such a massive deal? Well, it's both psychological and financial, right? For buyers who've been stuck on the sidelines, it means a real, tangible boost in their purchasing power. I mean, just to put it in perspective, on a $2 million loan, the savings every month compared to the peaks we saw in 2023, it's substantial. This is the spark that's lighting the fire for the market reset we're seeing unfold.
What this rate drop is really doing is it's taking a sledgehammer to the biggest problem that's plagued the market, something called the lock-in effect. This one thing is the main reason our housing inventory has been at rock-bottom levels, creating this massive stalemate. But at 5.95%, we're finally seeing the key turn in that rusty old lock.
So let's quickly define that. The lock-in effect is really simple. If you're sitting on a mortgage with a 3% interest rate, why on earth would you sell your home just to go out and buy another one with a 7% mortgage? The answer is you wouldn't. You'd stay put. And that's kept thousands of homes off the market. But now, at 5.95%, the math is starting to make sense again, and homeowners are finally feeling like, okay, maybe it's time to make a move. And that leads us directly to what's happening on the ground. As that lock-in effect starts to weaken, we're seeing an immediate, and I mean measurable, response in the number of homes for sale all across the South Bay. Okay, let's get specific. In Palos Verdes Estates, people are already calling it the spring surge. A whole wave of new high-end listings has just hit the market. In fact, 3 properties closed just this week with a median price of $2.4 million. The inventory unlock isn't coming. It's happening right now. And this is not an isolated thing. Over in Torrance, we've seen a 12% jump in new listings this month alone. And who's driving this? It's the move-up buyers. Families who are finally feeling confident enough to trade in their old low rate for a new sub-6% one on a bigger, better home. But of course, supply is only one side of the coin, isn't it? As all this new inventory unlocks, a new wave of buyers is jumping back into the game, and that's causing a huge reaction on the demand side, especially in those really sought-after spots. This quote from Majid over at South Bay Intel just nails it perfectly. It's an instant reaction. The second rates become more affordable, the very first place that buyers start looking is in neighborhoods with the best schools. Which brings us to a really key idea: the MBUSD valuation floor. Put simply, because the Manhattan Beach Unified School District is one of the absolute best in California, the homes there just hold their value incredibly well. You can think of those top-rated schools as this powerful anchor, creating a super stable base price for property, almost no matter what the rest of the market is doing. And that's exactly why this matters so much right now. These lower rates mean that way more families can now qualify to compete for those homes in Manhattan Beach. The data is telling us we're in this unique little pre-spring window. The competition is definitely heating up, but it's really expected to hit its absolute peak come April and May. Okay, so all of this brings us to the most important part: strategy. Given everything we've just talked about, the lock-in effect breaking, inventory surging, and competition about to get crazy, how should you play this 2026 market? This is the number one question on everybody's mind. It's so tempting to think, hey, if rates dropped this much, maybe they'll drop even more if I just wait. And, that sounds logical. But let's actually look at the data. So here's the trade-off, laid out plain and simple. You could wait for rates to drop another 0.25%. And yeah, you might save a little bit on your monthly payment. But on the other side of that coin, you risk that by the time that happens, the flood of new buyers will have already pushed home prices up by 5% or even more. That could cost you way more in the long run. So when you weigh the potential savings on your mortgage against the very real risk of paying tens of thousands more for the house itself, well, the intel is crystal clear. This window of opportunity, this moment where supply is finally rising, but before the competition really goes through the roof, is right now. So, as the South Bay market completely resets and this new chapter begins, just remember one crucial thing.
before you make any move.
Get the intel. Really understanding these dynamics is the absolute key to winning in the 2026 market. So, what are you going to do with this information?